So much happening. So much not happening. Time to react. So here we are. We're only a couple episodes before the end of season 4. And, well, people have been saying that the show is getting a little boring now that it's just people sitting around or walking around talking, and that there isn't a whole lot of people fighting zombies or zombie-eating people. And, well, guess what? Same sort of thing happened with the reader reaction with the comic. We are getting into a period of the story where the pace is slower. The focus becomes more on the characters and not the story. What we need to do as a whole is remember that this story is not called The Danger of the Zombies or anything like that. Now, this story is called, where did I put it? The Walking Dead. And remember, who are the Walking Dead? It's time to spend some time getting to know these characters a little better. We already know who they were, now we're finding out who they're becoming. We are exploring their feelings and their reactions to the things that have happened since all of this started, and to what the world has become and where they fit into all of that. Things have slowed down a bit in the characters' lives, and they are having more opportunities to really examine the fact that it's a pretty good bet that most of them are going to die horribly. And this is the point in the story where we really start to deeply explore what happens to people who either by skill or by chance or by deviousness have survived this thing for so long, and just how close so many people are to animals now that the societal mores have been removed. Okay, I admit it, I had a bit of a nerdgasm. At the end of that episode, when Abraham, Eugene, and Rosita showed up and they're in front of the truck, and it pretty much mirrors what we see on the cover of one of the comics, that was pretty cool. That was a really nice nod to the source material. And let me tell you, if you haven't figured it out yet, the appearance of these three is a big game changer for the group. As far as the TV interpretation of those three characters is concerned, they've got Eugene down really well. His smug attitude, his ineptitude with weapons, the way he lords his knowledge over others. But don't mistake Eugene's lack of fighting ability as complete uselessness. Eugene is quite smart, and he has both book smarts and survival smarts. So regardless of his attitude and his behavior and whether or not he's going to grow and change as a character, he does show the potential of becoming a valuable member of the group. Rosita, well, we haven't really had a chance to see her personality yet in the show. And we don't actually see a whole lot of her personality in the comic, except that she's a kind of quiet, tough girl with a soft side. In fact, it's her soft side that is often able to keep Abraham's rash and irrational side in check until Abraham learns how to deal with things himself, or at least, you know, better than he does when we first run into him into the comic. Now, about Abraham himself, well, I need to see more of him in the show before I really have a judgment about that. He's a little bit too happy-go-lucky. Comic book Abraham, no. Comic book Abraham is gruff, he's harsh, he's haunted, and he's brooding. And he has a very thin edge that he walks for a while between just going off on everybody. And I guess this actor is, you know, he's well known from Southland, and he did a good job in that. I have yet to see that TV show, so I don't know. But my reaction thus far from what we've seen in The Walking Dead is he's a bit less like comic book Abraham and a bit more like Zap Rousdower. So, lots of people thought Beth and Darryl were really getting to know each other well and were really bonding as a brother and sister type of situation, right? Except, we have that one scene where Darryl's kind of tongue-tied, he's there looking kind of nervous, kind of scared, like a schoolboy, and Beth is looking on eagerly like she's waiting for him to ask her out to the prom or something like that. So what if Beth is only, what, 17 or 18? I mean, heck, Laura Ingalls Wilder started doing it with an older man when she was only, what, 14? More importantly, take a look at a couple of those close-up of Darryl. I want to know, when did he have the time to stop somewhere long enough to dye his hair? And AMC, you aren't fooling any of us. No matter how many close calls you put Darryl into, we know you're not going to kill him off. Because if you do, you're going to lose about 80% of your non-comic book reading female audience. So, Terminus. Is Terminus going to be the TV version of Alexandria? Alexandria being the name of the place where our group is currently in the comics. And if that is so, why are they naming it Terminus instead of Alexandria? Well, probably because Alexandria is on the outskirts of Washington, D.C., and Terminus is actually in or near Macon. And seeing as Terminus is probably going to be Macon, I wonder if we have some either Easter eggs or perhaps cameos from the Walking Dead video game. Or is Terminus going to wind up not being friendly? Is Terminus actually going to wind up being Sanctuary? Now, Sanctuary is the base of operations for Negan, which, if you hadn't heard anyone tell you about Negan, Negan is the murdering, harem-owning sociopath who's currently making life hell for our characters in the comics, and he makes the governor look like an elementary school teacher. This scenario, however, is pretty improbable. All signs show that they're probably gonna reach Terminus by the end of Season 4. And Kirkman has stated quite clearly that he has much more story to tell before he wants to introduce Negan into the show. Now here's one thing for sure. One thing that I, and I'm probably not alone in this, is going to find irritating if they do this. If Terminus does wind up being someplace like Sanctuary, and some of the group wind up there, and then other parts of the group wind up finding Alexandria or an area like Alexandria, and you once again have different parts of the group either voluntarily or involuntarily on either sides of a battle. That only kind of worked the first time they did it, and if they try to do the exact same thing again, I'm going to call shenanigans. Okay, so you've got a mortician, or someone with mortician experience, or someone who just came upon the mortuary house, found all the stuff, and taught him or herself the craft. And they're also quite OCD about cleanliness and the way they stack things in shelves and cupboards and all that sort of thing. Or you have a house that is, among other things, a trap. And why would I say that? Because it's all a bit too convenient. It's all a bit too much like a setup. And because we had a kind of subtle or not so subtle hint of Beth getting her leg in a trap not too far from the house. So who would be setting this kind of trap, and what the hell for? Well, who are these mysterious biker mountain men guys? My guess, and I don't think I'm the only one who's guessing this, is I'm guessing these people are going to wind up being what in the comic books are called the Hunters. And the Hunters, among other things, they kidnapped Dale and they ate his leg. And when our group gets Dale back, they pay a visit to the hunters and teach those folks a little bit about the meaning of revenge and loss. One piece of evidence about this is, in the comic, when the leader of the hunters is talking to Rick, he makes mention that it's easier to hunt humans than it is to hunt animals. The line in the comic is a parallel to what seems like the leader of the biker mountain men group is, when he says, why hurt yourself when you can hurt others? See where I'm going with that? So I'll close with this. Much of what's happened on the TV show since the end of the prison arc is completely new story, and a lot of it revolves around characters who aren't even in the comic. And this is kind of dangerous ground. The show has been doing a pretty good job, which is actually surprising for a show that's got 5 executive producers. And it's at its best when it, maybe gets a little bit fuzzy about some of the story and starts to focus a bit on some of the new characters. But the more they distance themselves from the source material, the more the suckage meter starts to fill up. Oh my God. And I know there are going to be people who say, why can't you just watch and experience and enjoy and maybe judge and critique the show on its own without comparing it to the comic? Nah, that's not going to happen. Even if I don't, others will. Anytime you have a story being translated from one medium to another, there are going to be people who choose sides. I try to comfortably ride along in the middle because I do enjoy both. But the farther the writers get from the source material, the closer we get to having another situation like the middle of season 2, where a lot of us just flat out defected the show until Michonne showed up. So that's all I got for this time. Thanks for watching.